Yeah. Hi everyone. Yeah, so I'm going to be showing some import-export workflows today, and I've just been I've been working on this muscle car concept for through some of the training sessions, starting with a line drawing and then working into a sub D surface model, and then I just sort of kept going with it and ended up with this model here. It's kind of a work in progress still, but the concept is that it's all electric. So where you would normally have the engine, the windscreen actually tunnels through all the way down to the bumper. So this is all pass through. So aerodynamically, the car is like car is basically like a wedge shape like that. Um, and then the bulk of the muscle car happens in the sort of exterior aerodynamics. So anyway, I've just been playing around with that, and love to hear your guys' feedback. But yeah, I even got the yellow protectors, corner protectors. So I couldn't I couldn't resist. Yeah. Well, since I don't work there, I can do it. But yeah, it's not a Challenger without the yellow protectors. So, um, but yeah, the lights that they kind of just float in the space between this upper hood surface and the windscreen. So, and then the same thing with the tail lights through here, so it's all passed through. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about just exporting to VRED. It's quite simple, really. So if we go into our export settings, you go to export and just looking at, yeah. So you go to export and you'll see a box that gets drawn around everything that's going to be exported. So if you're in a room that has a lot of different objects, just turn off the layers of anything that you don't want to export. So make sure that everything you do want to export is on a set of layers that you can activate, and then deactivate anything that's in that's might be in the room that you don't want to export. So right now, this is it. Um, I have some other, I think I have some other stuff here, like yeah, no, yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, go into export, and for visualization, I recommend using FBX. Um, so if you're exporting to Keyshot or Blender or Alias Sub D or anything like that, I'm sorry, not Alias Sub D, just Keyshot, Blender, VRED, FBX. If I go into the advanced options, you have some options in here. I like to have double-sided normals. I like to have mesh. So geotype means you can export both mesh and NURBS, or you can export all together. So it'll give you a full set of surfaces in both the mesh and the NURBS. So right now just mesh and is fine. And then since my intention is simply to render it, that's fine. Um, Sub D mesh render or control that. So this will render will export the fully smoothed model. Control will export the low poly model if you wish to continue editing the model in a different program. So for example, if I were to go actually for alias, I would use OBJ and I get the same option, render and control. So if I want to export this model to alias and continue editing it as a sub D model as if it were built there, I would set it to control. But for VRED, for visualization, FBX in the render setting is where it's at. So so everything looks good. So I'm going to click export, and yep, just save it out. I can name the file, and it will show up on landing pad. So once you've exported it out, I've already exported it, so you just access that file on the landing pad website, you download it, and then get ready to import it to VRED. So I'm going to switch over. Any questions so far before I switch to VRED? When you were Yeah, I think it just leaves them behind. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think that also depends on if you're exporting a file that is that includes mesh and nerves surfaces, um, then yeah, you probably want to export um, everything. I think what it does is the mesh is actually a more like a clay scan. But when you see it in VRED, it looks perfectly fine. So the reason why FBX is really good for VRED is it preserves the shaders, whereas OBJ won't preserve the shaders. They'll look a lot different, but at least you'll know what's body color, what's glass, and that kind of thing. OBJ may or may not export out as just gray. So FBX is really good for for the export, for visualization export. So yeah, that would be good. Yeah, and I'm recording this too, so yeah, I'll set that up for you, and I'll just send out an email. Okay, very good. So what I'm going to do is switch over to I'm going to share my screen and switch over to VRED. Okay,
In
so
the
now
meantime, oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, are you still seeing my screen, the VRED?
Yep.
Okay, great. So so basically you just go to the landing pad website. You'll find your you should find your file. If you go under recents, you should be able to find your file here. You download it. So I've got the FBX file right here. I can just download that. I've already downloaded it, so I'm not going to do it again. But you would just click download, and it'll come down, and you can put it wherever you want in your on your desktop. So once it's downloaded, we just import, and I will muscle 10 FBX. That's the file right there, and click open. And now in VRED, the only thing that I'm going to do is set the tessellation quality to low, because it just especially if you're going to be looking at this in VR in VRED, you can the lower tessellation quality, you don't see the difference, but it really saves on memory and graphics processing. So just click import.
Sorry, 1 second, Eric.
Yep.
Is everyone can see clear the screen sharing? Because for me it's a little blurry, but I'm not sure if that's my Wi-Fi.
It
Is
is
that good for everyone?
it is kind of blurry for sure, yeah.
Okay. Eric, is there any settings that you can change because it's hard to read?
Okay. Let me. How about if I switch back to virtual camera? So instead of sharing my screen, you can just pin my camera. So I'll
Let's
stop
try.
presenting and then just pin my camera and see if that helps.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Maybe you can just want to show one more quickly time the settings because it was hard to read.
Okay.
The previous slide.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I'll just delete that, and then yeah, what you do is you import. Go to import. Select your file. Hit open, and then it was in this menu here. I just set the tessellation quality to low from medium. The default is medium. Medium is probably fine, but I found in virtual reality, if you decide you want to view VR, because VRED can also show VR, but setting the tessellation quality to low just helps a little bit with graphics processing. So then I'll just hit import, and then it should come right in. And there it is, exactly as it was built in Gravity Sketch. So yeah, from there it's just like any other file that you might bring into VRED. So one of the things that I'll do right off the bat is go in and check my normals. So I'll show the vertex rendering. You can see that right now all the normals are flipped, so I just got to go and hold the Alt key and right click each of the surfaces and just make sure, because if you decide you want to bake light and shadows, you're gonna have some trouble if you some of your surfaces won't display correctly if you try to bake the light and shadows. Do you all have a lot of experience with VRED?
Decent amount, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it probably all of this is looking pretty familiar to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so that's the only thing is the normals, just making sure that you don't forget to flip the normals if they need flipping. And yeah. So yep, there we go. All right, now I just got a few more things back here to. Everything looks pretty good. So go back to realistic rendering, and then from there I can start to assign material, like more realistic materials. So if I want to create a nice body color, create a flip-flop car paint, and let's try and capture that orange color. It's amazing what you can do with these flip-flop paints. I was trying to capture this sort of candy orange color. Make sure the flake size is really small. So you can see it's becoming quite realistic there. And then maybe create a glass color. Give it, like a dark tint. And you can see I've made the glass. I've actually built a partial interior. So if I go in and open up the scene graph, I can turn that off, and I can assign a dark plastic material. Just to make everything like super dark. Then I bring the glass back, and everything looks nice and transparent there, but not too transparent, because you still read the form pretty strongly. And then I might just use that same plastic material for the tires. and then maybe create a carbon fiber material for the like a dark
You read
carbon.
my mind.
What's that?
You read my mind.
So this one I'm going to have to look at the carbon pattern. Pattern size is, say, let's make it 0.1 maybe. That's a little coarse. So let's make it like 0.03. It's still coarse. So 0.01. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's looking more like how I would want carbon to look. And you just copy paste materials where needed. Make the wheels carbon too. Maybe get a brushed metal material for the rim. And then for the door cuts, I have a little trick. So the door cut was actually created using a stroke tool in Gravity Sketch. So you can see it's actually like a tube on surface. So to make it look like a piece of tape on surface, does somebody have a question?
No, it's someone is leaving, but we'll send the recording, so don't worry.
Okay. So one of the little trick that I use for door cuts, like if I've created it using the ink stroke, is I'll create another glass material, and I'll turn reflection all the way down, and turn reflection color all the way down to black. So it's like a non-reflective transparency, and then if I put it on there, no, it doesn't look like a tube anymore. It just looks like a tape line on surface. But from a distance, it just reads like a cut line. Just that's a kind of a trick that I use to quickly give the impression of cut lines. So I'll put one here as well. I can create an incandescent light, so something that's like all the way, like maybe slightly blue, and then turn on incandescence. It's a little too. Yeah, and then light up the lights. And then one thing I can do with the environment is create a shadow plane. Make that 10 meters by 10 meters. You can see it's not quite aligned correctly, so I'm gonna just move that. You just detach this. Yeah, just move it here, and then under my materials library, just create a shadow material. So that'll just make it appear transparent. But then what I can do is using bake light and shadows. and enable subdivision. So this will create some actual geometry. Set it to medium quality, and then calculate. And then now I have this cast shadow underneath the car, and it's just permanently baked on there. Change my focal length a little bit, and I can just bake some of these other items as well, like tires, so they look like they're inside the tire wells. Maybe some of these arrow elements, so that everything looks like it's, you know, nicely tucked underneath the surfaces. Disable subdivision, and then just calculate that. Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty amazing how quickly you can generate realistic images. You know. So now it's, you know, it's looking quite realistic. I could go and look at this in VR, and it would look, you know, pretty realistic. You know, if I wanted to bring in an HDR environment, go into my environments here and create a new environment. And I have an HDR library that I like to use. So I'm going to do like a night scene, modern buildings at night. So what's going on here? Oh yeah, it's loading. So everything is just going to take a moment. Have you guys all used VRED before? Do you use it regularly? Or are you starting to use other software like Blender or Unreal Engine?
I still use VRED.
Yeah. VRED, yep.
Yep. Okay. So you're all pretty familiar with it. Okay. So it's still loading.
Apparently not as good as you are.
Okay. So this is a kind of a night scene. It gives you. I wanted to give it sort of a glamour environment. One thing I'll do is turn on my anti-aliasing. Yeah, so that one is a little bright. So what I might do is just go in and why is it not? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, just turn down the exposure a bit. I like it because it gives you this kind of underlighting. But let's say if you wanted to have a more outdoor environment, like a road scene. One of my favorites here is the pink sunrise. And I like these 16K HDRs because you don't have to have you know, especially if you're doing the outdoor scenes and you're not seeing a lot of like perspective distortion, you don't really have to do a lot of retouching. You can just kind of leave the background as is. So it's just loading right now, and that's why the image dropped off. You know, one of the things that we can do in the next session is talk about export to alias, because I think that's another pretty in-depth topic. Sorry, so here's like a kind of a sunrise setting. Now here you can see the car is not quite aligned with the road, so if I go into my material settings, find the environment, and I can under transformation I can rotate the environment a little bit. So I'll just rotate it Oh, that's scaling. I don't want to do that. Rotate Z. So I'm just gonna, I want to say, maybe have it go this way, and just slide it over. So now I have it on a rural road environment. You can see that the you don't get too much distortion in the natural environments. You don't get too much distortion where the dome meets the ground. So if you compose your image nicely, you don't have to do a lot of photo retouching to take care of. You just get that little bit of distortion where the bubble where the bubble ends. So I like to do that a lot. If I turn on the headlight, I can get a little more read on that body side. Yeah. One trick I'll do sometimes is, sometimes I'll have the environment, so right now the light is hitting the body side really strong in this perspective, but then when I go to this perspective, the body side kind of gets dulled down. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll duplicate the environment. So it'll take a second to do. So now I have a duplicate copy of that environment. So and then under materials, I can take the second version of it, and I can, if I right click, I can say apply environment to all materials. And now I can rotate that environment independently. So now I'm rotating. So I have the duplicate that's lighting up the car while the background stays where it is. So now I can really light up that body side how I want, to show the contours independently of the background.
More of just a VRED question. I've done this accidentally before. If you just delete that second environment, does it detach it from the materials, or is there something else you have to do to undo that?
Oh, it's just if I delete this environment. I don't know. I've never tried that. Let's see. Delete. Let's see what happens. Okay. Yeah. So it remains in the material library. So I don't know if I delete that. It doesn't seem to delete. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to go back to the other one, you just go back to the other one. You right click, apply environment to all materials, and it'll just go back.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's enough of a workaround. Thanks.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So now I can go in and, if I change perspectives, I can go back and, oh, that's the wrong one. Go back and readjust the. So I do that all the time just to get the kind of lighting that I want on the vehicle. But yeah, it's a fun program. There's so much you can do with it. I just got to get it rotated slightly here. There we go. And do you guys all have tethered headsets? I know we gave you quests for the training, but do you guys have other tethered headsets?
No.
Okay. If you do end up getting quests that you can tether to your main computer, so I've got my my Quest headset right now is tethered, and when it's tethered, it's actually running as an Oculus Rift. So you can, if you go into View under Display, if you're plugged in, which I'm not at the moment, but you can actually switch your standard display to Oculus Rift, and you'll be able to actually view the car in VR on VRED. So you'll have more of this type of lighting environment. So if I go back to just to give you an idea of what that looks like. I just have to reconnect my okay, I'm having trouble keeping it connected. All right, here we go. And I'm going to just quit Gravity Sketch here. Okay, so if I go in and under visualization, or under view, I switch to Oculus Rift. Now you can see I'm actually looking at it in VR. And I can just, and right now all I can do is teleport. So I'm actually looking at this in 1-to-1 scale in VR. And so VRED will give you a much more photorealistic view of the car than Gravity Sketch will. But the advantage of Gravity Sketch is that you're able to edit and annotate and draw and all that. Whereas VRED, all you can do is just look at it. VRED does have the ability for multiple users to meet together, but again, all you can do is look at it. You can't draw on it. You can't do anything with it. Yeah. So this gives you an idea of what you can do with exporting to VRED. But you can see that the translation of the model to VRED was pretty seamless. Yeah. So any more questions?
No, I think that's pretty helpful workflow.
Yeah, you could kick out some really killer images quickly like this, and then yeah, be able to actually view it in VR.
Looks very cool. I'm trying to see how do we make the CEO wear the VR goggle to view some of this in our future programs. I know sounds like ex-PSA team has a better VR system than us. I'm just thinking about the future as we present the future programs and projects, the maximum way of presenting it through VR on our digital images.
That's a good question. I think, well, if you think about your first experience in VR, right? It's sort of like you see other people wear VR goggles and you're like, oh, they look silly. But then you try it on and you see it for yourself. It's game changing, right? It was for me the first time I saw. And the idea that I could just create a model and then see it in full size, like right in front of me without having to mill a model.
Yeah.
That was game changing for me. And so, yeah, I mean, I think getting people outside of design to put VR on, I think, I think you just have to make the experience as easy and seamless as possible.
Yeah, especially CEO.
Right. And then, yeah, the question is, do you want to show it to them in a more photorealistic way like this, or do you show it to them in a more of a like Gravity Sketch gives you a little bit more of that I wouldn't say it's more of a illustrated look, right? Gravity Sketch looks more illustrated, but it gives you, I think it's easier to see what the surfaces are really doing in Gravity Sketch, whereas here I think the distraction of the environment can actually, I think, take away a little bit from what you see in terms of realistic. It looks more realistic, but to actually know what the surfaces are doing, I think it's easier in Gravity Sketch. That's just my view.
Yeah, it's just that with people like CEO, it'll be more of a sort of a bigger picture focused. So I think it's okay even if you have the lack of surface quality or the view, but if we can show the vehicle in a sort of realistic environment, they may be even better for people like that.
Mhm.
so he could imagine, the car being on the road, right?
Yeah.
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 Or even with the cars next to the car that he's familiar with. Say, like this case, if it's next to Viper or next to Challenger, maybe that's even better for him to compare the size.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I've had experience with market research in VR. Putting headsets on consumers,
Mhm.
and it was very successful. They were, we picked an environment that was a bit more neutral,
Mhm.
and obviously the cars were silver and all of that. But I mean, I don't remember at Chrysler doing a lot of clinic work. Are you guys still doing a lot of that? Are you guys doing more of that now, or do you think it's how do you guys use research?
Obviously, we mostly use the actual properties.
The physical models, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, in one of my last programs, we replaced the physical models with VR, and it was very successful.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It was, and we were able to do more research events. We actually did a couple of iterations, because we were able to make just quick changes to the models and then schedule another focus group. So it was a far quicker and less expensive process.
For both exterior, interior, or just exterior?
Mainly for exterior. Actually, we did show interior as well. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, the interior gets a little more complicated because then if you have a seating buck and you can align the image to the seating buck so they can
Mhm.
actually touch and feel it. But
Mhm.
that's a huge win when you can do that.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Something to think about for us.
Yeah, exactly. It again, it allows you to, it depends on what your aim, what the goal of the research is. I mean, for a final design confirmation, you definitely need to have a physical model. But for
Right. Right.
earlier stage theme confirmation, like where you're just showing them themes and figuring out which one is the right one, VR can really save a lot of time and expense.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
All right.
yeah, very cool. So yeah, I think we're coming up on the time here. Any further questions, comments?
I'm good.
No, that was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, awesome. And please, any actually, I have a question for you. Any thoughts on the next Friday session? I was thinking about showing you how to export to Alias.
I think
that'd be good for sure. And I know we talked about how do you export to Alias is to be able to modify the surfaces in Alias.
Yeah. Let's focus on that for next week. There's I'll show you the export settings for how to do that and what it looks like when you bring it into Alias.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks
Thank
you.
everyone. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch you next time.
Excellent. Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay.
Thanks.